Welcome back to another Pokemon What If Wednesday, where every Wednesday morning we go through last week's investing and collecting questions, where your guys' questions will actually be featured in the video, and one person's question will help me make the thumbnail every single week. So please drop your questions down below for a chance to be in next week's video. And if I did comment to you saying great question, I might use this and I didn't, please put that same question again and put repeat question and we get moved to the top. And we get so many questions now that, it's not a guarantee that your question will get answered that next week, but if you put it again, I promise I will get to you. And then I'm not saying I'm some guru who just knows everything, but when I'm unsure, I always like to talk it out with a few people. It always helps me make my final decision. But before we get started, we do have to give a big thanks to our video sponsor real quick, and that is Collectr. This app is the best of the best when it comes to tracking your collection. They're always trying to improve and add new cards, boxes, and features, so let us know down below if there's anything you want them to add or fix. But they just added a ton of new features. You can now mark as sold. You can view your realized gains charted out on the homepage against your unrealized gains charted out too. More custom icons, they got new app themes, a ton of new colors. So yeah, definitely check them out. They also do more giveaways than anyone in this entire hobby. I'll have all the links in the description. All right, first question is from @Roughnecked. Hey Beard, there are a lot of people saying that buying Sword and Shield booster boxes is better than something like Destined Rivals, but I feel like Destined Rivals could overtake sets like Fusion Strike and Lost Origin faster than people might think. What are your thoughts? So I totally get why people are saying that because, this market is so crazy right now to where these booster boxes are so expensive and they will be printed for the next couple of years. We just have no idea how many and, if it's going to make the price go down or anything like that. It's just so unknown because the market's just so unpredictable. But, in normal times, booster boxes were $100 to like $120, which, then I'd be like, yeah, totally invest in the newer sets. I always did that. Once like the prior generation gets pretty expensive, where we're talking $300, $400, $500 a booster box, that's when I go to the next generation and start stocking up on a bunch of them for $100. I've done that for every single generation since black and white, but now, the newer boxes are so expensive. So I get why people are saying that, to invest in sets that aren't going to get reprinted versus a set that is going to get reprinted. But there is going to be a set or two in the Scarlet and Violet era that does beat, a ton of Sword and Shield booster boxes. It's definitely possible. I mean, look at Team Up. Market price $8,370, and I know this was a pretty short printed set, but you never know, we could get something pretty short printed in the Scarlet and Violet era. And I mean, the price of this, we're talking almost like a Fossil Unlimited booster box. I mean, that's just crazy. And then we have Evolving Skies, market price $2,600 with prices higher. That'd be the third most expensive Sun and Moon booster box and beaten quite a few X and Y booster boxes. So the question is, are we going to have a set like that in the Scarlet and Violet era that just goes absolutely crazy? Now, in my opinion, the Scarlet and Violet era is probably the best all-around era we've ever gotten, from like first set to last set. Every set is very, very solid. Beautiful arts, the most arts we've ever gotten, with all the illustration rares and special illustration rares. But that kind of makes it, to where there's not going to be one or two sets that are like way, way, way better, like Evolving Skies is from the rest of Sword and Shield besides Crown Zenith. And then, Team Up compared to the rest of the sets besides Cosmic Eclipse. So yeah, with all the sets being so good in the Scarlet and Violet era, Destined Rivals isn't, a million times better than Surging Sparks or, Twilight Masquerade or whatever it is. They're all pretty close. But there's two things that's really, really going for the Scarlet and Violet era is it's the most popular Pokemon has ever been in Pokemon history, especially with modern. The last boom was a lot more vintage heavy with, of course, some modern stuff, but no booster box was, over $200 the whole time. It wasn't even close. Like, we never even had all booster boxes over $150 in the Sword and Shield era. So we have the most people ever in Pokemon history collecting, where their first sets ever are 151 or Destined Rivals. And then the other thing that's going for it is the nostalgia of 151 and the Team Rocket set. And I know it seems impossible for, like, let's say the Mewtwo card from Destined Rivals to be like a $1,000 card one day. But it's possible. I mean, the Lovebird cards from, Team Up was a $100 card. It's like a $50 card. Then it was $100, $200, $300, and now it's, super, super expensive. Same with the Umbreon VMAX. Started off with about a $550 card, dropped to like $250, $300, and then just kept going. So yeah, it's definitely possible. It just sucks how expensive these brand new booster boxes are. So I totally get why people would rather invest in, a Sword and Shield booster box over a brand new Scarlet and Violet era. But I can almost guarantee there will be a set or two in the Scarlet and Violet era that just does way better than what people thought. I mean, even the 151 Pokemon Center ETB right now is destroying a ton of other things that are a lot older than that box. So we're already seeing it a little bit. That's why I always recommend trying to lock in that Pokemon Center pre-order. And then too, try to make friends. You never know who you're going to meet. You might make friends with somebody at your local LGS who has distribution that you never know might hook you up with a booster box at cost, or you know, maybe 160, 180, where they don't, you know, rip you off completely. It's possible. It happens all the time. So it's really, really good to go out and meet people, go to card shows, go to a bunch of LGSs, because you never know what's going to happen. But all right, next question is from Matt. Replica, the Lord of the Beard, the Return of the Beard. A London, UK longtime watcher here. Riddle me this. Why are Eevee Heroes booster boxes still so cheap? Many of the cards within are more expensive than their Evolving Skies counterparts. I was thinking that same thing. I was even going to add this box on my very next Sleeper Sunday because in this entire boom, it's gone up like $100. Like I remember checking this thing last year, it was like $350 or something like that. So I think it's a very, very solid pickup for sure. Next is from Matt Wreck-It Roush. Hi Beard, do you think Giovanni's Charisma 204 SIR from 151 is undervalued? It's only $11 to $13 right now. Is a beautiful card. I do think that card is a little undervalued, especially right now. Everything in 151 is going up. Charizard is now over 300. Zapdos is right at 100. Blastoise is in the 80s. Venusaur is right at 80. Alakazam is even 55. Charmander is now over 50, with Pikachu right behind him at 48. And then, yeah, there's little Giovanni's Charisma down here at $11.91. Yeah, I think it's a good pickup, and I honestly could see this card getting pretty expensive, you know, down the road, especially with the Scarlet and Violet era. I mean, we got Giovanni's Charisma, and then we got the Mewtwo and stuff. Like, he definitely got some love in the Scarlet and Violet era to where, you know, I could see these cards popping off. Next is from a member at Mugito. PokeBeard, thanks for regularly pumping out great Pokemon-related content. It makes my daily commute much more enjoyable. My question is about Japanese 151 Master Ball cards. I literally hear zero content creators talk about these anymore. Do you think they are slept on, or will these not be super desirable in the future? They felt exclusive before we got English. Now they just seem forgotten. What do you think about them long term? Yeah, as soon as we started getting them in English, people just stopped caring about them, but they still do hold crazy value on, you know, the Japanese 151 side. I mean, it's still the most expensive card is the Gengar Master Ball. So they're still going to do good for the Japanese side. My only complaint is I just like the arts on the SARs and stuff so much better, which I feel like most people would also agree. So there's just going to be so many more people collecting them over the Master Balls. So that's definitely going to hurt the Master Balls for sure. And then, like I said, getting them in English kind of watered them down a little bit to where we're like getting them in almost every set now, it seems like. But I could definitely see a couple of like the super popular ones popping off in the future because they are pretty tough to get, you know, because there's so many of them, it's tough to get an exact one. So there's not like a crazy amount out there. It's kind of like the Legendary Collection Reverse Hollows, just, you know, you don't get one per pack, you get one per box. So, yeah, I don't know, it's tough, but yeah, I agree. I don't hear anybody ever talk about the Master Balls anymore. I do still like them way more than just a regular Reverse Hollow, but I don't know if I like them more than the actual SARs and illustration rares. It's just tough to compare with that art for sure. Next is from Jonathan. Hey Beard, thanks for always sharing your wisdom of Pokemon with us. Do you think that the break cards from the XY generation will ever go up in value? So they actually did go up a little bit. Lugia market price $21. That was a $10 card for the longest time. So they are starting to slowly go up in price, but still very, very affordable. If you guys do not know about these cards, I like them. I think they're very unique. I do have every one of these. It's a very, very easy set to complete. But I think there's only like 30 of them. So it's very, very doable. And a lot of them are literally just a few dollars a card. This is the stuff that I love to collect. Small little subsets like this that are really, really cheap that people just don't like because you never know what's going to happen in the future. We could get break cards again and these could just shoot up in price. You know, there's a ton of people who like cards now that we used to hate back in the day. So for the price of these and how easy it is to complete the set, and it looks super nice in a binder, you know, I definitely recommend trying to complete this set. And don't forget, there is a couple Black Star promo break cards that you have to get also. Next is from @DGen Wins. Beard, do you think the Blaziken VMAX from Chilling Reign has potential to be the next huge mover in the singles market? I see the price is slightly down now, and I'm debating buying two, one to hold and one for my personal collection. I've just always loved this card with all the unique colors and the sunset in the background. So when you actually look at the whole page, it's the most colorful card. I mean, it definitely sticks out. I feel like it has definitely one of the most unique art styles in the entire Sword and Shield era. And one thing I like is that it actually gave Generation 8 some love with Inteleon in the card also, because if you look at all of Sword and Shield, it really did not get a ton of Sword and Shield Pokemon in these sets. I mean, there literally isn't one in this entire top page besides the Inteleon in the Blaziken card, just because a lot of people just hate these newer generations. Takes a few years for people to warm up to them for sure. But yeah, it's a very unique card. Color's crazy. Blaziken's pretty popular. Let's check this out. So, was at 345, now it's at like 352. Last sold 360, 367, 349, 358. So yeah, it's not really going too crazy. The high was 390 for the year, and the low was 257. So I could definitely see it, jumping back up to 390, maybe even 400, especially because so many cards are going crazy right now. Maybe one day it could be a $500 card. I just don't know if Blaziken has that popularity. But I agree with you. The sunset in the background, the colors, and he's just so big. I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool card for sure. Next is from RIP CK. Oh, Grandmaster Beard, what are your thoughts on the Chilling Rain PC ETB air boxes? I see them for sale on eBay frequently and really wondering if this is a desirable item. Apparently they have 8 packs rather than the normal 10. It was a short run. Thoughts? So these are boxes that no one's going to be opening anyways, especially, they don't have promos. So, at least with the Scarlet and Violet era, if you do open up a Pokemon Center ETB, you're guaranteed some value, especially, that promo could hit a 10. You could potentially make more money off that Pokemon Center ETB opening it than keeping it sealed. To where I feel like it doesn't make a huge difference that this only has 8 packs compared to 10. And I actually think it is kind of unique that it is an air box. So if I see these and these are super minty, I would grab one. I don't think it's that big of a deal that it's missing 2 packs because no one's going to be opening them. And I know so many people right now that are just collecting every single Pokemon Center ETB. I literally get hit up almost every single day of someone hunting for Pokemon Center ETBs because they're trying to get every one. It's kind of crazy. Next is from Liable Karma. Hey Beard, would you be willing to do a weekly or monthly series talking about other TCGs such as Magic, Lorcana, and One Piece? What would be the best way to start collecting Magic? So I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that because, I'm not super confident in those TCGs to where I couldn't really give opinions on stuff. The only other market update I could actually do would be a vintage Yu-Gi-Oh market update and a vintage Digimon market update because I know everything about those. So those are the only 2 market updates that I could actually do, the old first edition Yu-Gi-Oh stuff and then the actual Digibattle stuff. I have all those cards and, I even know about the Swedish cards and all the promos and stuff. But yeah, Lorcana, don't know anything about. One Piece cards, I don't know anything about. Magic, I know some stuff about. My brother's an expert in that, so my brother could do that. But I'm definitely not. I don't keep up with every single set. They just pump out so many. And then 2, Pokemon is my one true love, so this will always be a Pokemon channel. I know I could probably buy Lorcana or One Piece boxes and make money and stuff, but I'm not all about just purely making money. I like to collect and invest in a Pokemon because I absolutely love Pokemon. That's why I love having sealed boxes, because growing up, I didn't have the money to buy a booster box ever. It was a booster pack every few months or something. So that's why I like having sealed product, and my house feels like a card store. But if I were to start collecting Magic, it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to collect as, let's say investment style, maybe go after some of the numbered cards that are going down in price. But otherwise, if you're looking to actually play it, Commander is a blast. I definitely recommend anybody that has, never played Magic the Gathering, definitely try Magic. Once you play Magic, though, it will ruin playing the Pokemon TCG a little bit for you because it's so much more in-depth, and there's, thousands and thousands of more cards. All right, next question is from Yamama Bamba. What did Beard do before content creation? Only beards? That was seriously hilarious. We were dying laughing when we first read that. But no, I was a chef. I worked in the kitchen for almost 15 years. It was okay. It got pretty busy there for a while to where it was just nonstop stressing. And when you're running the kitchen too, it gets pretty hectic for sure. This is definitely much better what I do now. All right, next question is from Pokehutch. Hey Beard, I have a question. I have a large, kind of crazy collection of singles and I love the hobby. What is the best way to make a living doing Pokemon in your opinion? So if you got a ton of singles, you could definitely go start vending. And if you're vending, you might as well record it. And if you're recording it, you might as well start a YouTube channel. Do those long form vending videos, cut them into shorts. Also, since you got a ton of cards, you can make a bunch of shorts about all the cards you have, all the cool different ones, and just pump out content. And then you could also start an eBay store and a TCG player store and, start buying lots locally and posting that you're a buyer and stuff. And you can really get this stuff, rolling. A lot of people, they do that and then they want to open up a store in the first year. I don't recommend doing that. Just try to be safe and smart. And then with the content creation, you just can't give up. A lot of people think I got lucky when I went literally a little over a year straight of posting 5 to 10 shorts a day with a long form every other day without ever making 1 penny. That's how long it took me to learn everything and make the editing better and get better equipment and, actually get the watch hours to where I can get monetized. And then, you know, from there, you just got to always keep improving. But it is definitely possible. I never thought in a billion years that I would be a YouTuber. Like, I was one of the people who didn't even have like a Facebook growing up because I was like a little antisocial. You know, I didn't even have really social media at all. I had like Snapchat. And now I am a YouTuber. It's just crazy. But all right, next is from at the Master Balls. Beard, I know the answer to this, but feel it's not discussed enough. What's your opinion on forging a solid relationship with local game stores? I think it's super important. That's why I even mentioned it in the beginning of this video. But even before I was a Pokemon YouTuber, you know, I was friends with a lot of people who ran card stores because I was always going to different card shops looking for cards, and I was playing the TCG a ton when I had a lot more time. So, you know, I made friends with a lot of people in the stores, and I promise you I got so many good deals. You know, they'd even hit me up if I'm like looking for something specific. I'd let them know. You know, they'd hit me up immediately as soon as they get something in. So it definitely helps a ton for sure. Especially too, like I mentioned, if you have a skill that can help them out, you know, you scratch their back, they'll scratch your back. You know, it's definitely possible for sure. And then it's just always good to have more friends and meet new people. So you should always be trying to do that anyways. Next is from at Sphinx FIFA. Hey Beard, with all these new sets coming out, I know it's hard to predict, but how long after a set release is it a good time to go after the chase cards? Looking at Mewtwo from Destin and Lucario, so back in the day it was so easy, you just wait like 2 set releases and the cards would be dirt cheap. Nowadays, you know, the cards come out pretty hot, then they cool off a little bit, and then like the most popular ones just go crazy again. So I like to just trust my gut. If a card feels like it's super undervalued, I'd pick that up, which is why I was picking up a ton of the Pikachu 151 cards, a bunch of the Zapdos 151 cards. I mean, the Pikachu has the most Gen 1 Pokemon in it ever with a Gengar and Blastoise. Zapdos literally has Moltres and Articuno in the exact same card. Probably the best Zapdos card we've ever got in Pokemon history. So those were just so undervalued and cheap. I just trusted my gut and I got a bunch of them. Like if the new Mega Lucario fighting the Mega Venusaur comes out and it's around $100 for some reason, you know, I'm definitely going to pick up a bunch of those because in my gut, I feel like that's a super, super good deal. And I feel like it's so undervalued. Plus, it's the best Lucario card we've ever gotten in Pokemon history. But one thing that does help is if we get a new set that is much better. So it is still safe to, you know, wait a couple sets, especially for like the smaller cards, all the illustration rares. You know, the most popular ones might bounce up and, you know, go crazy. But a lot of them, they will just slowly fall down once we get the next set and the set after that. But all right, next question is from Matt Spider. Oh, almighty bearded ginger, king of the north, breaker of pokey chains. That's hilarious. How does a card's print quality overall affect its ability to grade a 10? Example, I have a Mewtwo that is flawless except for white spots on the back, which were extremely common for this card. I've seen them get PSA 10s. Does PSA considered print quality at all when grading? I have also seen a bunch of those in a PSA 10 with those white spots. You know, I feel like with PSA, it's kind of random. Like some people care about it and some people don't. So I can't give you an exact answer because, like I said, I've seen a ton of them, you know, with the speckles get a 10, and I've seen a ton of them with the speckles that were super clean that get like an 8. So it's just so tough to say. So one thing I hate about PSA, it is definitely, you know, kind of random. Just depends on when you send it in and who's grading it, to be honest. Next question is from Gabe Owens. What's good, PokeBeard? Watch you every day on my way to work. Love the channel. My question is, what is your favorite set? How long did it take you to realize what your favorite set was, and did you invest in it? So if I had to choose one set, I'd probably choose base set. I know that sounds lame, but you got to think I collected base set for over 20 years because I did Unlimited, Shadowless, and First Edition Shadowless. Not to mention, you know, base set 2 has a lot of the same arts. And then, you know, we got Legendary Collection that has the same arts. So those arts and those cards are just so nostalgic to me just because I spent, you know, 20, 25 years collecting them. Like when I see just even a common First Edition Shadowless base set card, I don't know, it does something to me. I just fall in love. So yes, I did invest into them very heavily. But yeah, Gen 1 and Gen 2 are just like my favorite generations because Generation 2, when that came out, you know, it was just so crazy to see new Pokemon. That's why when I play the newest games, I only collect the new Pokemon. I don't collect any old Pokemon when I play, you know, when I do Scarlet and Violet. I only collect the new Gen 9 Pokemon just so I can get a little bit of that feeling that I got the first time I played, you know, Gen 2 games. But all right, next question is from Soul Food Mix. Hey Beard, I recently picked up a Magneton Disco Hollow Test Print CGC 8.5 for $3K. I plan on holding on to it for a while, but when it comes time to sell, I want to have a plan. It's Pop 2 in an 8.5, so sales aren't common. How do you go about selling it in my situation? Thanks. So yeah, your best bet is just try to find recent comps, you know, similar grades. Just get as much information as you can. Try to figure out where you think your card is going to be priced at. And then from there, if you know anybody who collects that type of card, it might be easier to just reach out to some certain people and make a deal like that. Otherwise, if you go to a card show, I feel like most vendors would pass on that. There might be a couple big guys that will, and they're not going to give you, even close to probably 90, 95%. It'll probably like 80% or 70%. So that's why I think eBay might be your best option, to be honest, because there's just so many more eyes on there at one time, and it's such a unique card that you need those collectors to, really get in there and see it. Otherwise, you could maybe do a consignment service, which might get a little bit more eyes on it. Let's say if you just don't even have an eBay store, then again, they're taking a pretty decent little cut. It's not too bad, but it's definitely just a little bit more than selling it yourself. And then too, you could always do like a big auction and, set a reserve and see if there's any interest in it. Or you could put it on buy it now for like kind of a crazy price and just see if people message you and see what they offer. Just so you can kind of get a feel for what it's actually going to sell for. All right, next is from T-Rex Kings, BSA versus BGS grading overall and who will be king in the future, along with what is the value difference between the two and what makes up that difference. For example, BGS 10 label is always valued much higher than a PSA 10. What effect does the difference in value make for a BGS 9.5 versus a PSA 10? So PSA 10s are usually always worth more than a BGS 9.5. And then golds can sometimes sell for around the same price as a PSA 10 card. Depends on the card. But the black label thing is just crazy. Now, I like BGS. I really wish they would just do a big update and overhaul. I think they need to update their entire brand, redo their entire website. And then I think they really need to try a few new things and really push. Like when you go to these card shows, it's almost always CGC doing on-site grading or PSA. It's usually never BGS. So I feel like they really need to, kick it into high gear here. Maybe update a couple things. Like I said, their website kind of sucks. And then maybe even update their slabs a little bit, which I do like their slabs, but I feel like they could be a little bit more modernized somehow, stuff like that. And then I feel like BGS could definitely come back strong just because that black label is so crazy to get. But I definitely like BGS so much more than CGC and Tag. I do think Tag has a really clean, modern looking slab. And then if they do those mobile pods that they're mentioning, that'd be crazy too. That could definitely make a lot of people want to grade with Tag if you can get your card graded in just a couple minutes, but you never know if that's actually ever going to happen. But I really hope BGS just does a big overhaul and, updates a ton of stuff. I'd be super, super excited. All right, next question is from Matt. Cedar, hello, Senior Beard. I have a question. If you were to pull a major hit from a pre-release, would you sell while it is high and rebuy once it goes low if it's something you want, but want to expand your sealed collection? So back in the day, that was always a guarantee. You always sell right away when the set comes out, and you could buy it back later. But now, like I mentioned earlier, some stuff can definitely shoot back up in price. Yeah, I do think that is a good idea, especially if it is during pre-release. But just know if it is the top 1 or 2 cards, there is a chance that, when it comes out, it'll go down in price a little bit. And like I mentioned before, in this market, it can shoot right back up. Like the Mewtwo's kind of doing right now. So you got to be careful about that. But 99% of the cards, if you get it during pre-release, yes, you are pretty safe to sell it. There's just going to be a card or two that can go crazy. Like I sold the Umbreon VMAX for $550 when we pulled it during pre-release. Then it went down to $300 something, but it took a while and then it went crazy. So if I wouldn't have picked it up at, $300 something, I would have missed the boat. So if it's something that you need for your collection, just make sure you do not miss out on it when it actually gets cheaper. A lot of people do that. Next is from a member at Michael Reddy. Hello, Beard. I'm debating selling one of my prismatic PC ETBs and getting an Evolving Skies ETB as I don't have much evolving. I have 3 prismatic PC ETBs, so I'm thinking it can't be a bad move. Love the videos as always. Please let me know your thoughts. I feel like I would do that. Just make sure that Evolving Skies ETB that you get is flawless. No dents, no tears, no holes. And then I feel like you have a somewhat decent chance of hitting another Pokemon Center ETB prismatic restock, because they have been restocking them every once in a while. We just had one 2 weeks ago. So you have a small chance of getting that. So yeah, I feel like it'd be safe. All right, last question is from Matt 3, J Spangle, Leonardo da Birchi. If you had a hand in inventing the Gen 10 starting trio, what would it look like to you? Appearance, animals, things they're based off of. Starting, typing, evolutionary line, typing abilities. Thank you for all you do, good sir. So I want the starting 3 to be like dinosaur type Pokemon. All different, but kind of like a dinosaur type theme. They can still be, fire, grass, water, like they always do. but I think it'd be kind of cool. You know, like a T-Rex one and like a Triceratops one. I don't know. I think that would just be super, super cool. And then, like I said, give them their types. But I have always wanted that. I'm a really big fan of like, you know, fossil Pokemon and stuff like that. So I think that'd be just sick. Let me know down below what you guys would want for your new Gen 10 starting Pokemon. That's a super good question. But all right, that was today's Pokemon What If Wednesday. If you guys do like this content, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. And just so you guys know, I am going to be dropping some PokeBeard merch here very soon in the next couple weeks, so keep your eye out for that. And I am going to start traveling for some of these card shows. So if anybody does run a card show or anything like that, hit me up if you're interested in me coming to your card show. I'm trying to set everything up and schedule everything for the next year here. So yeah, let me know. And then too, if you guys want to support more, you guys can check out my Instagram, my TikTok, or my YouTube membership. It's only 99 cents a month. But all right, I want you guys to have a great day. If you guys want to watch my last Pokemon Market Monday, which was an absolutely crazy one, you guys cannot miss it. Click this video here. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.